Okay, so this one's difficult in terms of the upper denture. We'd probably try and get away with not providing an upper denture in this case and just providing a lower denture. So for tooth-borne dentures then, for this, let's start with the lower one. This is our saddle area down to the 4 here. And then we've got everything behind the 4 on this side missing. Like so. Limit the occlusal table. Hopefully this is all becoming repetitive now. Bounded saddle, we want the occlusal rest to each side of the bounded saddle as close as possible. This side wants to be on the opposite side of the abutment tooth. Okay, so that's our support taken care of. And now we're on to retention, so we need to be on the surveyor looking for undercut on these teeth, on these abutment teeth, to provide undercut, looking for undercut to provide clasping. This tooth has got pretty much no undercut, this one's got some good undercut, this one's got some undercut. So this tooth here is going to need to be modified if we're going to clasp it with our gingerly approaching clasp, so we need to make a note of that. This one's okay, we can stick a clasp on there, and this one's got some nice undercut just on the buckle aspect just here, so we can run around like so. Then we need to provide reciprocation. Well, we've got it on this tooth already, a plate on this tooth and a plate on this tooth. Reciprocation arms or RPI if you wish. Don't forget you need to do that little bit more work on the surveyor if you are. Okay. Path of insertion I'd make to equal the path of displacement. To keep it simple, there's quite a large bit of undercut just here, we'll block that out. Make it nice and wash through. And then we've got our connector on. Do we need to consider indirect retention? Well, with this case, we've got this free end saddle. Here's our clasp tips. Looking at the axis of rotation, we're going to be rotating in this direction. We've got a cingulum rest here, so that's going to act as indirect retention. For the upper one then, this would be awful really. So we've got just this unilateral free end saddle. Limit the occlusal table, so we're only really replacing one tooth. Difficult to know what to do really, but you'd put, following the rules, we'd put an occlusal rest here. We're going to need something on this side of the arch, probably something at the front and the back to try and keep this whole thing as stable as possible. So incorporating an occlusal rest where it's easily accessible, somewhere in this region just here would be beneficial. Bit of a blip on the model there. It looks like there's an opposing tooth occluding against this though, so we need to be careful of that. And then ideally something down here at the back to keep the whole thing stable and create an axis of rotation for indirect retention as well. So we probably want to come down onto this 6 if we could. It doesn't look great. Maybe use a 7, access a 7 just here. So there's our support taken care of. And now onto the surveyor, finding undercuts. There's plenty of undercut on each abutment tooth for clasping. Path of insertion I'd make equal the path of displacement again, keep it simple. Because we've got lots of components going into different areas of the mouth onto the teeth, so you're going to complicate things if you start trying to engage that undercut distal to the premolar. So with regards clasps, gingerly approaching here, and then gingerly approaching, that tooth's not present, gingerly approaching, occlusally approaching on this molar just here, like so. And then hopefully we can rely on some indirect retention. We could bring an occlusally approaching clasp around that premolar there, but rely on indirect retention to provide some more support for this saddle area. So then we need some reciprocation, so we need to come around the back of this premolar here, reciprocating plate. Same on this premolar here, reciprocating plate. This one's got its reciprocation built into the arm of the clasp. So then we could do with joining all this together something like this. Try and keep these teeth clear a little bit. So I have a large plate to aid support and retention for this free end saddle. So we've got all these occlusal rests and clasps just to replace this single tooth. With regards to indirect retention business, we've got a clasp tip here. We're rotating about the pencil in this direction. This is going to be providing us the indirect retention. This cingulum rest here, or those cingulum rests in that area of the mouth. Okay, awful. Anyway, if we were going to do a mucosa born design, it wouldn't look a great deal better, because we'd have something like this. Just come a bit further forward there, ignore that bit. Around a couple of these abutment teeth, probably onto a couple of these as well. Maybe keep these two clear. Something like this. Again, limiting the occlusal table. Clasps here and here. And that will about do it, I think. Clasp on around there if we can. I say if we can because it looks like the occlusion's very tight in that area. Challenging. For the lower, a bit more simple. We end up with something that looks like this. Probably come around the cingulum of these teeth to make it all robust enough. That's, oh, it is there. That one's not there. That one is there. I haven't got a rubber. There we go, polishing bearer's rubber. And then clasps on as we did before. Clasping this tooth. Okay. And that's about the lot really.